Hello and welcome to Yorkshire Voice. I'm Martha Sanders. This is the news at 4. Here are today's top stories. Parents protest outside a West Yorkshire school over images of the Prophet Mohammed. And we speak to one athlete who is competing in the Powerlifting World Cup on the day the competition begins. But first, parents gathered outside Batley Grammar School to protest the use of a derogatory image of the Prophet Mohammed in an email sent to parents earlier this week. The head teacher, Gary Kibble, described the image as inappropriate to use in a lesson, but demonstrators are still calling for the teacher to be sacked. Noah Hoffman has more.
Protesters gathered this morning outside Batley Grammar School after pupils were shown a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad in a religious studies class on Monday this week. The crowd was made up of parents, pupils, and other members of the community. The teacher has been suspended, but the protesters are calling for him to be sacked immediately. One protester told Yorkshire Voice that the cartoons in question were from the French magazine Charlie Hebdo and that the incident had aggravated the Muslim community. He did not wish to be identified.
There's no malice, there's no violence, nothing going on here. Everyone's carrying themselves really, really well. And the officer has informed us that the teacher is suspended until full investigation. And we hope that he is removed from the school and is banned from teaching, because how are you in a position of power and you have influence over these children, and yet you find it comfortable to mock their religion?
Despite demands from protesters, the head teacher did not address the crowds. Instead, a community representative came out to answer questions after a meeting with school officials.
What has happened in the school, we are appalled. We are appalled, and Khatmi Nabuwat and these things, look at what we do as a community, and you'll understand our stance. So what has happened is totally unacceptable.
The pupils protesting returned to school for afternoon classes. The head teacher has apologised for the incident.
And we can cross live now to our reporter Noah Hoffman, who is at the scene. What's happening now, Noah?
Afternoon, Martha. I am here outside Batley Grammar School, where earlier today protesters were gathered. Police had cordoned off the road, and the feelings here were quite intense. Tensions were high, but things have calmed down now. There's no longer a police presence, only a few members of the media here outside and some pupils who have stuck around to see what happens next, really. So things have calmed down. I've got a statement here from the head teacher of the school, Gary Kibble. He said the school unequivocally apologises for using a totally inappropriate resource in a recent religious studies lesson, and that the member of staff also gives their most sincere apologies. The head teacher says we have immediately withdrawn teaching on this part of the course, and we are reviewing how we go forward with the support of all communities represented in the school. The statement also adds it is important for children to learn about faiths and beliefs, but this must be done in a sensitive way. So much more calm here now, Martha. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. There's been a long-running campaign to improve safety measures at an alleyway in Headingley, dubbed an assault hotspot. It has been announced that it is now set to receive new security measures, such as lighting and CCTV. With national focus currently on women's safety, following the murder of Sarah Everard in Clapham, we take a look at what has been achieved through this campaign here in Leeds.
Leeds City Council have announced that CCTV and other security measures will be installed in an unsafe alleyway near Headingley Stadium. The announcement comes after a series of protests and petitions from campaigners over the last few months. I spoke to people in the Headingley area to gauge public reaction to the newly announced security measures.
I think they definitely should do things to make the area safer. I'm not super keen on CCTV, but I think if that's what it takes, then okay. Yeah, it's more important that it's safe, because we have even avoided taking this route at night. So, yeah.
You hear a lot of people trying to avoid the alley, although it's a very short cut between this side and that side of the stadium. Maybe they should try to have more PCSO or like some human, people like going up and down and trying to monitor.
In October 2020, a public funded effort was made to address the issue, with a security team patrolling the alley for several weeks. This latest step should provide a more permanent solution to make an area a safer route for local residents.
As that's the nick that everyone knows this as Reef Alley. That alone says to me something needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't realise they did plan to implement measures like CCTV and stuff, but if they do, that's definitely a good thing, and I would think that would improve safety, I hope, because it's obviously a reoccurring problem.
I feel like the measures should be taken to make females feel safer walking down here at night, because it's like you don't want to have to take an alternate route to have to go down the alleyway, like if you're trying to get somewhere. Like you want to be able to just walk in your city where you live like freely without having to like go out of your way to go somewhere else because you feel unsafe.
We have asked Leeds City Council for a comment, but no one has got back to us. And the people of Leeds have been joining nationwide efforts to mark the death of Sarah Everard, who was killed as she walked home. Sarah's murder sparked nationwide outrage and demonstrations. People have been tying ribbons and leaving messages on trees in their local parks. People have paid their respects in Woodhouse Moor in Leeds by decorating trees in bright colours such as pink, purple and blue. Let's now have a look at what is happening on the other side of the Channel. The head of state and government of the European Union are holding a meeting today to discuss the implementation of rules which might make exporting vaccines produced in Europe more difficult in the coming weeks. We'll go now to our Italian correspondent, Riccardo Trono. Hello, Riccardo.
Hi, Martha. Yes, the meeting of the European leaders has started today, and it will deal, amongst other things, as for the possibility of curbing the export of vaccines manufactured in the EU outside the bloc. As we know, in the last few days, the state of diplomacy between the UK and the EU has not been at its very best, with the British government stressing that no arbitrary blockade should be imposed on the part of the EU, and the EU reminding that as many as 10 million doses have been sent to the UK, and they have received none so far in return. The news broke last night that the two parties were seeking a win-win solution to try and quench the tensions. But we also saw that yesterday Boris Johnson added France might be included in the red list of countries requiring hotel quarantine, and that is very likely to cause severe disruption to travel essential activities across the Channel. So in terms of diplomacy, there's going to be plenty of work on and a lot of fiery days ahead.
Thanks, Riccardo. 6 weeks today, Leeds residents will be joining voters nationwide in the upcoming local elections. Residents of West Yorkshire will also be electing the first ever West Yorkshire Mayor. With the need for social distancing and hand sanitizer as a result of the pandemic, the polling experience won't be what you're used to. Our reporter, Thomas Wootton, has more.
On Thursday, the 6th of May, Leeds residents will join the electorate nationwide in heading to the polls to elect their local representatives. But just how significant is the local elections being held this year, despite being delayed 12 months ago due to the ongoing pandemic?
I think it's really important that the elections are going ahead. I think there would have been a serious sort of deficit of democracy if we didn't have the elections that we were due to have, and people need to be able to feel that they've had their say.
In order to vote in person, voters will be expected to follow strict social distancing measures at polling stations. The measures include the 2-metre distance rule, using hand sanitizer, and compulsory mask wearing at all times. Voters have also been told to bring their own pens and pencils to fill out and cast their ballots.
It's going to be a much more complicated process, and in terms of people feeling discouraged about voting, all the restrictions will be in place to enhance social distancing. They're going to be bringing their own pencil, aren't they?
Voters who are unable or unwilling to vote in person due to COVID can print and fill out a postal or proxy application from the government website and post it to their returning officer. Applications will be accepted till the last week of April. However, this extension has led to some concerns.
As regards proxy voting, I am concerned, I have to say, about the making it easier for proxy voting to take place.
The local elections to be held this year are unprecedented. The government has mandated that all people who wish to vote in person must do so by adhering to strict social distancing measures. Some councils, such as Leeds City Council, based in City Hall just behind me, has encouraged voters who are unwilling or unable to vote in person to apply by post and proxy voting to their returning officer. How will this affect the results? Well, some areas may see low turnout and some areas may see some seat changes, or maybe not. But one thing is certain, that is the electorate nationwide will be going to the polls on Thursday the 6th of May to exercise their democratic rights in order to elect their local representatives.
A student from Leeds Trinity University will be representing Great Britain in the Powerlifting World Cup today. Charlotte McGuinness is currently 7th in the world in her weight category. Chelsea Sewell reports.
I never even heard of the sport. I knew someone who did it, but I wasn't really aware of it that much. So I just trained for swimming, and when I entered for the powerlifting at the games, I trained a bit, but not much. So yeah, within a few months to go from a sport where you don't know anything about to training like 3 times a week, it was all fast. It came quickly all at once, but it was amazing. You can't, I think if it weren't for the disability, I think I got into sport. But 2012 was the year that really pushed me, and that was after Ellie Simmons did her debut at London, well, her second Paralympic debut. And I think it pushes you to achieve what you can achieve. And what I've been thinking recently is you looked at differently when you're in sport with a disability, you looked at differently compared to when you're in society with a disability. So in society, or if you're just out and about, you get looked at, stared at, even taking photos on cameras, you get all sorts. However, when it's in sport, it's actually people are shocked and like they cheer you on and everything. And it's that division between sport and society with disability. But yeah, it really pushes me on to show people I'm not just someone short. I'm actually got potential of doing some good things, and I can lift heavy weights as well.
That's all from us at Yorkshire Voice. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. to hear the latest news from across the county. If you wanted to contact us about any of the stories we've covered today, do email us at yorkshirevoice@outlook.com or via our social media. Goodbye.